Hey, everybody.
No.
Welcome to the U School podcast. I've got a good friend of mine and a dynamic leader that I'm excited for you to listen to and get to know. Jorge Espinoza, would you tell me a little bit about how the heck you got to where you are and where are you?
Okay. Well, I am the alternative education principal for the Carlsbad Unified School District. So I have the distinct pleasure of working at Carlsbad Village Academy, which is a continuation high school for students that are 16 or right around 16 or older.
Mhm.
Typically, the kids come to me because they've fallen behind in credits,
Hmm.
and we need to change the dynamic of high school for them because for many of them they just need a smaller environment in some place where they can have a little bit more eyes on them and accountability. And then I also work for I run Carlsbad Seaside Academy, which is an independent study
Hmm.
program for kids that just need an alternative to a regular high school classroom as well. A lot of these kids that are, they're doing other things. I have a
Hmm.
significant number that take college level classes.
Hmm.
Some of them are actors, some of them are athletes, some of them are just dealing with anxiety, and
Hmm.
they just have real hard time being in a class of 40 of their closest friends for 2 hours at a time, and they
Yeah.
just can't handle that kind of situation. So
Yeah.
that's where I am. So I was just kind of, figuring out. I've been doing alternative ed now since 2007. So
Wow. It's a long
it's
time.
it's it's a good long time.
Yeah.
I've been an assistant principal now, or assistant principal and principal
Hmm.
for since 2002, and
Wow.
I've been teaching or in education since 1995.
Dude.
So
How,
yeah, so I
how
got
old
I,
are you? No, I don't ask. Answer the question.
no, it's fine. You
I
know
thought
what?
you were like
I'm
40.
proud to. No, I'm proud to say my 50th birthday will be on October 22nd. So
Nice. Okay. All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So I mean, one of the core premises that we have at U School is everybody has a story inside them, and we would say a great story. And most people are waiting to figure out what that story is. But
Mm.
you get to in the alternative education space. That's not. Everyone has a unique story. Like that's why they're there. It's not
Right.
as I think of a bigger high school, a typical high school where there's the 10% of students that get in trouble or are struggling. There's
Yeah.
the 5 to 10% of kids that are just rock stars and they're involved with everything. And then there's the middle, like the 80% of students that maybe they're just kind of getting through it. And the idea of trying to help them understand what their unique story is, it's a process. It can be difficult. The students you spend time with, they're like, it's a story and it's
Yeah.
out in the open. So is that
Yeah.
is that a big part of why you like what you do?
It's a major part of why I love what I do.
Yeah.
I sit down with every student and every parent before they even start school with me.
Hmm.
So I have this process that I go through with them, and we
Hmm.
discuss what got them there. I go through, I look at their school records and things like
Sure.
that. And it's like, and it's funny. It's just we kind of go through the whole thing of, and the moral majority of the kids that come to me is like, it's not like they have this long rap sheet of
Right.
discipline. But what I do is I look at them like, oh, so you've been doing an amazing job of hiding in plain sight, not
Hmm.
getting in trouble, but slowly just falling through the cracks
Hmm.
and not really knowing how to, pull yourself out, engage with, the adults around you, and,
Yeah.
stop what's been happening. And like intrinsically, most, the moral majority, like I'll ask them straight up. My first question to kids that come to CVA are like, do you want to graduate from high school?
Hmm.
And their immediate response is yes. And I love that response. I'm
It's
like,
great.
well, good. I'm like, good, because then we're on the same page of music. So if you're saying yes to that, then without hesitation, you're not thinking about anything else, then we can definitely work together.
Yeah.
And
That's
and
great.
so then what's funny is like part of the time too is like I sit there and we go over like what's been going on since like sixth grade, because I always ask them like, when's the last time
Hmm.
that you felt that you were doing well in school? It's
Hmm.
time and time and time again. It's like, well, fifth grade, and fifth
Hmm.
grade was that last time that they had one teacher with
Yeah.
27 kids that
Wow.
got to really know you. And
Yeah.
so, they go to sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, and you have a variety of teachers, and they're just kind of start,
Yeah.
going through the whole
Yeah.
thing and it helps, So it creates this pathology, I like to call it, where they fall behind, and like they get to ninth grade, and they've developed the habits of, I can just hide through this, and because in middle school, if you fail every single one of your classes, but you become a seventh grader, and you can fail
Mm,
every one of your classes, and you can become an eighth grader,
wow.
and you can finish eighth grade, and you may have failed all your classes.
Right.
They go to ninth grade, and it's some of the same stuff, and so they don't realize that. Oh, hold on, and then they don't realize that um, you can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you have to be engaged in this. That you have. So
Huh.
I know, and so there. It's never too late when they show up. And I even tell them too. It's like, look, if it, and I always tell them it's the graduation day, which is like June 10th or June 11th or
Mhm.
whatever it is,
Mhm.
not the drop dead day that you're out of here. I mean,
Mhm.
I get kids that come back for a fifth year.
Mm.
I had kids come back for a sixth year high school,
Wow.
and they said, "You'll still take me?"
Mm.
Like, why wouldn't I take you? You want to graduate from high school,
Right. Right.
you know? So,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful. So
we
one of the things I've noticed about you, I've spent a little time with your team. I've spent time with you, and I don't know how to say this in a really kind way, but you're just really weird. You're really different in my experience of other administrators, and not just saying that's because you have a smaller school or there's students that are coming with certain challenges, but you seem to believe things very deeply. And I'm curious, I haven't asked you this yet, but what is it that you believe about students when they come to your school? Like what do you really kind of dig deep and think about that helps you keep pushing through some of these challenges?
that a person's epiphany may not happen on the time schedule that you think they should happen on,
Hmm.
and that it's a sometimes a slow chipping away process that and when you get there, it's awesome.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's it's just, I don't know, man. I believe, I always think that I can reach them some way or somehow. And the hard part is that you know the kids that that I don't get that, I don't get it, and it doesn't happen, or it may not happen. I it like hurts me deeply.
Hmm.
And to be honest, it's like they're few and far between,
Hmm.
but it happens,
Hmm.
and it's hard. It's just hard, but I just know that as much as sometimes you just like, like there's times you stand there and like, all right, he came again today, so that's
Hmm.
good. He's coming in the gate, all
Yep.
right, or she's
Yep.
coming in the gate, all right. It's another day, it's another opportunity. So
Yep.
I just, you know, I I I think a lot of times too in education is that we always try to find, all right, well, if this is the problem, then let's move it somewhere else. I
Mm.
mean, like I used to work when I worked at LA Unified, they used to have this thing called an opportunity transfer. So,
Uh,
so if you didn't like a kid and or they're being a total pain in the ass, and you really wanted to move that problem around, you would
yeah.
call the other high school in your area and say, "Hey, I got one for you." And usually it was like, "Oh, good, I have one for you." And then
Uh,
you know do the swap. And there were times where and I was a counselor at the time,
mm,
and this one assistant principal hated me, and because she would try to initiate this opportunity transfer, and I would go into the principal's office and plead the kid's case.
mm,
And because I at that time I was a at-risk counselor, so I had 200 kids that I had to follow and
mm,
chase down. And she told me one day, she goes, you need to mind your own business.
Huh.
Okay, I'm like, well, this is my business, and I am minding it, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help these kids. So I am
That's
minding my
great.
own.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's tag that assistant principal when we post this episode, shall we?
Well, God rest her soul. She's a
Oh
sweetheart.
gosh. This just got dark on
Yeah.
this Friday the
Well,
13th.
you know, the, it took a while, but I mean, she still would be pissed at me about, it's like she goes, you don't have to believe in all of them, and
Oh,
come out of her mouth.
come
Well,
on. That's crazy.
it was crazy.
What do you think students need?
Um, I think the fundamental thing that kids need is just someone to believe in them. You know, I mean, and I'll never forget this. This kid told me one time. He said, "You're the only person that ever said that you were proud of me."
Mm,
And I mean,
yeah,
sorry, it just
yeah,
I'll never forget that kid looking me in the eye and telling me that. And
yeah.
it's just they just need someone to believe in them. And a lot of times, with these kids' parents, they're exasperated with
Mhm,
everything that's happened to them with school and
mhm,
the everything else that happens with them, and so
mm,
they have a hard time believing them too. And a lot of times, these parents have had a negative experience with school themselves.
mm.
So
Right.
so they just kind of like, well, this is just status quo. I mean, this is just history's gonna repeat itself.
Yeah.
So I think what kids just need is just they need someone to talk to them. They need someone to believe in them. They need someone to you know just sometimes just step in as that adult in their life that
Mhm.
can give them some hope. You know.
Yeah. How do you demonstrate? How do you communicate to a kid that you believe in them? What do you do as you reflect on how you talk? I mean, that's a big part of I think why I like spending time with you and your team. It's like I actually want to see what is it that you're doing.
Well, I think the I mean, it sounds corny, but I mean, I tell them, I'm like, look, I just want you to know is that when you become part of our dysfunctional family that we call Carlsbad Village Academy, that you're part of my family, and that I love you,
Mm,
and and when you screw up, the last thing you're going to hear before you leave my office is like, hey, I still love you.
mm,
I think that it's just, I mean, my approach to them is that you sit down next to them. You engage them in a
mm,
conversation. You look them in the eye. You tell them about the things that you see, the things that the thing that you notice. I mean, this morning
mm,
I had this young lady, and I've only had her for the first couple weeks, but I here at CVA, I did work with her. She was an independent study to me for last year. I worked with her sister. I worked with her sister. Her sister graduated from high school. And so this young lady is walking into school today, and I'm like, "Hey, I just want to tell you, I just want you to notice that. I want you to know that I noticed just how you just seem happier."
mm,
And she stopped and looked at me. She goes, "I really like being here, and I
mm.
am." And
Wow.
it's just like
Wow.
that's one of those things where she lit up because you notice just
Yeah.
how different she's feeling and how she's and
Yeah.
it was a powerful moment standing at the corner.
Right. 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 And that's validation. That's affirmation. That's I see
Yeah,
you. I care about you. And yeah,
yeah.
it's beautiful.
So I mean, I mean, it just I mean, I think the thing that's hard about doing these things, and is that, and I, it's, I think the thing that gets me in trouble sometimes is that I don't document everything. Everything's not in counseling notes, and
Right.
but I mean, I'm like the effort's there, but I mean, if I'm coming to work at 4:30 in the morning and I'm not leaving till
Right.
5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't write this down.
Right. Right.
I think that's the part that's tough is that
Yeah.
you put all this. look into it, but then there's yeah. So
Well, and that's part of the challenges of a system and having protocol. Like, yeah, what you were telling me before, that when a kid doesn't come to school, which in a conventional high school that can happen a lot. And if you've got 160, 180 students or 2,700 kids in a school, you might not notice the 55, the 100
sure,
students.
sure. Oh,
But you
I
handle
look
that differently.
I look at it every day. The thing is that I go through like I'll go through the list.
Hmm.
All right, who's not here?
Hmm.
I'll check to see. Okay, so whose parent called them in sick? All right, so who's MIA? And if a good majority of them, I've got their cell phone number. Quick, I mean, I, if you look at my cell phone, the question "Where are you?"
Copy paste.
is is repeated thousands of times. You know,
Mm.
and where are you? And then it'll be, I know, I see that you read my message. Answer me. Don't hide.
Yeah. Well, that's a part of what I mean. As you were sharing, I believe in you. That's such a powerful way to communicate that. Where are you? I noticed you're not here.
Yeah.
I'm going to find you. I'm going to look for you.
Or like, or the day after, I'm like, hey, everything okay? Are you feeling better? I mean,
Mm.
like those are questions, and
Yeah.
or they'll say, or oh, I didn't feel well yesterday. I'm like, you didn't feel well, or were you sick?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
feel. Oh, you know what? So next time you don't feel well, let's come in. Let's get a drink of water. Let's try. Because like, look,
Right.
you can't get those days back.
Right. Right. What part of what you do and how your team's doing it can transfer to a bigger school, do you think? Like, if you could be a consultant or get up and do a TED talk in front of a bunch of principals of big schools, like what would you say of this is what you can learn from how we do things?
Well, I mean, here I would say this is like, I've walked in their shoes. I mean, I've worked at a school with 4,700 kids that
Holy cow.
like Vegas. I used to say we're like Vegas. We never close. I mean, we graduate kids on June 29th, and July 1st, you got a whole brand new group of freshmen coming in.
Hmm. Hmm.
um, so I mean, what I would say to them is that is get out, make it part of your day to get out there and develop relationships.
Mm.
That and developing relationships with kids it does mean that you're you're chasing them down.
Mm.
You're walking into class. I when I used to work in Marshall High School in LA, I mean, I would walk into class,
Mm.
I would stand at the door. I would survey the room. I would, make eye contact with kids that I, I put
Yeah.
my two fingers to my eye and point
Yeah.
at it like I'm watching you. You I mean, I would. Then it's just then the kids that were, I mean, don't turn a blind eye to kids that are ditching class.
Right.
It's like, you know, at a big school, walk up to them like, "Hey, man, where are you supposed to be?"
Mm.
Mean and then have that question and then like and there are times you find out like hey, something happened
Mm.
or you know this is going on with me or I need this and you can have a meaningful powerful conversation
Mm.
either walking them to class,
Yeah.
walking them to a counselor, taking them to the nurse,
Right.
whatever,
Right.
but it I mean
You got to
it'll
be there.
disrupt your day,
Yeah. Right.
but
Right.
but but the reality is like, when you can, and a lot of times it's difficult to do this, you know, is you just got to know them,
Mm.
and the thing is, I mean, one of the things that took me away from being at a large comprehensive high school is that, my kids were just born and I was never home because the only way to be that kind of administrator is like
Mhm.
you have to accept the fact that it'll take a significant portion of your life. And
Mhm. Mhm.
it's not if you want it to be a 9 to 5 job, it'll never be a 9 to 5 job.
Right. It occurs to me that I think, requires the kind of work that you're talking about, getting out there, being in front of classes, going into classrooms, greeting students, talking to them, it actually requires, I think it's just generally vulnerable, and it's uncomfortable, and it can
Yeah.
feel awkward. And I think it requires, to a degree, a high amount of self-confidence that your presence matters and
Yeah.
that you have a role to play. Because I'm
Yeah.
sure what you get a lot is what feels like rejection
Yeah.
or contempt,
Yeah.
or and that doesn't feel very good in the
No.
middle age of our lives.
Yep. Yeah. Middle age of your life, in your early 30s, your early 40s.
Right.
I mean, I've been told to f off more times than I can. But you know what? It doesn't matter.
Right.
I
Yeah.
coming back for more. It's like, and trust me, I've taken things personally, but you got to come back at you got to, and
Yeah.
there are times too. What means a lot to a kid, if you lose your cool and you show your human side
Mm,
and you jump to a conclusion, you get a lot of mileage out of saying you're sorry.
mm,
A
yeah.
lot. When kids know that you are vulnerable and
Mm,
that you are a human being and that you do
mhm,
make mistakes,
mm.
it makes you human.
That's cool.
Yeah.
One of my commitments, just as small as walking my kids to school in the morning. A couple years ago, I realized how I'll see a bunch of kids because I coach a lot of sports and I'm in their school a lot. And at this point, I know quite a bit of the students, but I found myself, I would see a student walking towards me that I knew, or maybe I coached a season or two ago, and I wouldn't say anything to them. I wouldn't say hi. I wouldn't greet them. I think because I didn't want to feel awkward. I didn't want to feel
Yeah.
like, who are you, old guy? And instead, one day, I just realized, well, how silly. That's all about me. That's all about me. And so I've made it a commitment ever since that if I know a kid's name, I'm going to say it, because there's something powerful about
Yeah.
saying a kid's name, greeting them.
Oh, absolutely. That's like, I stand at the corner every day and greet kids, like, or I walk around school and like, hey, like, how are
Yeah.
you? How,
Yeah.
when they feel like they're greeted and they're welcome,
Yeah.
it takes away some of that,
Yeah.
you know, distance between you and that
Right.
young person.
Because there's a natural high degree of distance between teenagers and
Yeah.
adults. It's like
They don't like
developmentally,
that.
they know, right?
What are
Stay
we
away.
about? You know?
They don't like you, but they need you. They
Right.
don't like you, but they have to have you. And that's the rub. And I think the phrase that's on my mind so much that you embody so well is this idea of for the sake of kids. That I will, as you say, I will go and greet them on the corner, even if they say F off. I will call them at home, even if they don't answer. I will go find them.
I'll go to their house and pick them up and bring them to school.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not supposed to. But
Right. Don't worry, this won't be recorded at all.
no, I readily admit that it's just like, look, man, it's just I'd rather have you here than not here. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what it takes. Then that's what it takes today.
Yeah. Well, I want to just sincerely thank you for not just being on the show, but your friendship, what I'm learning from you, what I'm honestly learning from you about how to love students, how to love people. It's like I see you, I see the work that you're doing. It is wonderful. And I'm so happy that you're doing that work for the sake of kids.
Well, it fills my soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks, Jorge. And
Well, thank you.
we'll be seeing you soon.
All right, man. Take care. Thanks.